We are counting down the 10 toughest, most overlooked Bluewater tanks that you can still buy for a fraction of what the industry wants you to spend. This ranking is not about glossy lines or marina status. It is about boats that put safety and comfort first, hulls so thick they shrug off reefs, cockpits built for real knees, and berths where you will sleep through storms. But every bargain comes with a hidden kill switch, from keels that can self-destruct to hardware one step from disaster. Some entries deliver ocean crossing security for pennies, while others hide a $20,000 trap that could sink your retirement. Which forgotten legend is the safest bet, and which one could cost you everything? Let us start the countdown with number 10. Bristol's 29.9 and 31.1 may be the smallest hulls here, but their reputation for comfort is well earned. Halsey Harrishoff shaped them for New England's chop, giving each a broad beam and a gentle underbody that settles into a steady rhythm. Owners recall sailing through squalls with coffee cups undisturbed, the motion so forgiving that reading underway feels natural. Solid fiberglass below the waterline and a clean deck layout keep things simple and safe. Priced between $15,000 and $25,000, these Bristols offer Bluewater pedigree without the premium. Yet beneath the waterline, a risk lurks. The centerboard's steel wire pennant and hidden sheave are vulnerable after decades at sea. Corrosion and abrasion make failure likely. When the pennant snaps, the board can jam or thrash, sometimes gouging the fiberglass slot. In rare cases, a broken board can hold the hull, turning a $20,000 dream into a $4,000 repair. Hauling out to replace the wire and sheave and inspecting the pivot pin is essential. Buyers should insist on proof of recent pennant work and check for rust or weeping at the keel slot. Bayfield 32s stand out in the harbor with their clipper bows and carved trailboards, but the real appeal is in how they handle. The cutter rig splits the sail plan into smaller, easy-to-manage pieces, no wrestling with a giant mainsail in a blow. With a full keel and a draft just under 4 feet, these boats track straight and shrug off sloppy seas. Owners praise the gentle motion and the ability to sail with confidence, even when the weather turns ugly. Prices hover between $25,000 and $35,000, making them one of the most affordable ways to get a Bluewater-ready deck under your boots. But there is a catch that has caught more than a few off guard. The companionway sill, often just 6 inches above the cockpit floor, sits dangerously low. In heavy following seas, a single wave over the transom can send water straight into the cabin. There are documented cases of flooded interiors after a pooping sea, with repairs running from $800 for a basic sill raise to $2,000 for a proper retrofit. Any buyer should measure that sill and budget for the fix. It is a classic case of a small detail making all the difference between a safe haven and a sodden mess. The Islander Freeport 36 was never designed for the young and restless. Robert Perry gave it a Pullman berth, an honest-to-goodness sidebed, not a pointy V-berth or a trampoline. On a Freeport, you sleep like you are in a rolling library, not a carnival ride. The galleon windows let you read by daylight, and the saloon feels more like a den than a cave. For anyone with a stiff back or a partner who values real sleep, this is as close to a floating bedroom as you will find under $40,000. But comfort comes with a catch. The engine room is infamous. Access is so tight that changing the oil feels like a yoga class for your spine. Owners talk about scraped knuckles and hour-long filter changes. Some have paid $3,000 to $6,000 just to retrofit better access panels, money well spent if you value your sanity. Before buying, check if the previous owner made this upgrade. If not, budget for it, or be ready to curse every maintenance day. The Freeport 36 is a dream to live aboard, but only if you can reach the heart of the machine. The Endeavour 37 was built for those who want a floating apartment, not a cramped cave. Step inside and you will find 2 private cabins, a real shower, and headroom that does not punish tall sailors. The saloon stretches wide with enough space to host a dinner or spread out charts without bumping elbows. It sails flat, so the galley stays usable and the coffee stays in the mug. For $35,000 to $50,000, it is hard to find more square footage per dollar in a Bluewater hull. But beneath the plush carpet and wood trim, the plumbing tells a different story. Endeavour used cheap gate valves, 6 to 10 of them, sometimes plastic, sometimes bronze. Unlike true seacocks, these valves can seize or snap, especially after decades in salt water. When a gate valve handle breaks, you cannot close it. If it fails below the waterline, water pours in. There are documented cases of boats flooding at the dock because a $20 part turned brittle with age. Swapping every valve for a proper seacock costs $300 to $500 each, plus labor. On a boat with 10 through hulls, that is a $3,000 to $5,000 safety bill before you even untie the lines. Anyone considering an Endeavour 37 should budget for a full valve replacement, because comfort means nothing if the ocean comes inside. CSY 37s were never built for looks, they were built to survive. Caribbean sailing yachts knew their customers, charter fleets, liveaboards, and anyone who wanted to cross an ocean without worrying about the hull splitting open. The result is a boat with hull thickness measured in inches, not millimeters. Owners have run aground, bounced off reefs, and still sailed away. The solid fiberglass construction, especially below the waterline, is legendary. There is no balsa, no foam, just pure mass. At sea, you feel it. The boat tracks straight, shrugs off chop, and the deck feels safe underfoot. CSY gave these boats enormous fuel and water tanks, over 100 gallons in some builds, so you can vanish into the islands for months. Prices today run $40,000 to $55,000, and you get a hull that laughs at the weather. But the tanks are the trap. The original fuel tanks are black iron, buried deep under the saloon sole, glassed in place. After 40 years, most are rusting from the inside out. When they leak, there is no inspection port and no easy fix. The only way to get them out is to cut open the cockpit floor with a saw. Yards quote $15,000 to $20,000 for a full tank replacement, sometimes more if the surrounding structure is compromised. There are invoices to prove it, weeks in the yard, gallons of resin, and a new tank custom built to fit. Before buying, demand proof of a recent tank job or budget for the surgery. A CSY 37 will take you anywhere, but only if the fuel stays in the tank and not in the bilge. Allied Princess 36 was built for sailors who wanted blue water security without wrestling a giant mainsail. The ketch rig splits the work with smaller sails, lighter loads, and a mizzen that calms the boat at anchor. On a rough night, you can reef down without leaving the cockpit, and the boat stays steady while you sleep. The cockpit feels deep and protected, with high coamings and a layout that makes sense for a couple or a solo sailor with creaky knees. Prices today range from $25,000 to $35,000, remarkably low for a 36-foot tank that can cross oceans. But there is a flaw hidden under the cockpit sole. The mizzen mast steps directly onto a wooden beam beneath the floor. Over decades, water finds its way in through old caulking, a forgotten screw hole, or a leaky cockpit drain. That support beam can rot from the inside out, softening slowly until one day the mizzen mast starts to sag. Signs are subtle at first: a cockpit floor that feels spongy, maybe a slight depression where the mast sits. Surveyors have diagnosed Princess 36s with beams so far gone that the repair bill runs $8,000 to $12,000, requiring the cockpit to be cut open, the beam replaced, and everything rebuilt. Before buying, check for softness around the mizzen step and demand proof of recent repairs. A Princess 36 rewards careful owners, but this is one job you cannot ignore or postpone. The Morgan 382, 383, and 384 series define practical blue water muscle. Ted Brewer drew them with high bulwarks and a wide, flat deck, features that let you move from cockpit to bow with confidence even in a rolling sea. The cockpit coamings rise well above knee height and the side decks stay clear, so there is always something solid to grab. For anyone who has slipped on a wet tow rail or fumbled a lifeline in the dark, this is what security feels like. Prices today run $30,000 to $45,000, and you get a hull that has crossed oceans and brought its crew home. But the Morgan's biggest strength hides a costly weakness. The shrouds anchor to stainless chain plates, which pass through the deck and bolt deep into the plywood bulkheads. Decades of condensation, leaks, and old bedding soak into the wood behind the interior trim. Out of sight, the plywood turns soft and the chain plates lose their grip. Surveyors know to probe with a moisture meter around every knee and chain plate, looking for readings that spike from dry to saturated in a few inches. When the meter pins red, the only fix is to strip out the beautiful woodwork, cut away rotten bulkhead, and rebuild from scratch. Yard invoices show repairs running from $6,000 for a small patch to $15,000 for a full rebuild. Miss this flaw, and what looked like a bargain can gut your cruising budget. Always demand proof of dry readings and recent work before you buy. A Morgan 38 is only as strong as the wood that holds its rig upright. Tartan 34C is the Swiss Army knife of old-school Bluewater hulls. Designed by Sparkman and Stevens, it is a classic sloop with a trick up its sleeve. A centerboard that lets you sneak into marshy anchorages or ride out a blow tucked behind a sandbar. With the board up, draft shrinks to just under 4 feet, so you can nose in where deeper-keeled boats fear to tread. Drop the board, and she points high and tracks steady, even when the wind pipes up. The hull shape and underbody were drawn for safety, not speed, but the 34C still covers ground with a solid, reassuring motion. Prices today run $15,000 to $25,000, which buys a pedigree hull and a versatile tool for coastal and offshore work. But the Tartan's secret flaw is hiding in plain sight. The decks, and on some hulls even the topsides, are cored with end-grain balsa. Over decades, every stanchion base, every winch, every cleat that was not perfectly bedded can let water seep into the core. Once inside, moisture spreads, turning the balsa to mush and leaving the fiberglass skin flexy and weak. Surveyors know the drill. Moisture meter in hand, they map the deck around every fitting, hunting for spikes that mean rot. A hammer tap that once rang sharp now thuds dull over a wet spot. Core repairs run from $3,000 for a small patch to $10,000 or more if the whole side deck has gone soft. Anyone eyeing a Tartan 34C should insist on a full moisture survey, especially around stanchions and hardware. Dry decks mean a bargain. Wet decks mean a hidden yard bill. But if you find a sound one, you get a centerboard cruiser that can hide from storms in skinny water and still hold its own offshore. A rare combination in this price range. The Albin Ballad 30 isn't just a pretty face from Sweden, it is a wolf in racing clothing. Built to take a pounding, it will still get you home ahead of the weather. With a ballast ratio of 47% and a hull that feels stiff as a church pew. The Ballad slices through chop at 6.5 knots, leaving heavier older boats wallowing in its wake. Owners talk about crossing the North Sea with spray flying and the tiller light, the boat tracking straight while others broach or drift. For sailors who treat speed as a form of safety, less time exposed and more time ashore with a cup of tea, the Ballad is a bargain, often found between $10,000 and $20,000. But there is a hidden risk that demands respect. Under the deck stepped mast, early Ballads sometimes used a steel support beam or compression structure. Decades of condensation and leaks can turn that unseen element into a rust farm. If corrosion sets in and the steel loses its section, the deck can start to sag. In the worst cases, the mast step compresses, dropping the mast heel into the cabin by an inch or more. Surveyors have found rust stains around the mast step and soft spots in the deck core, subtle signs that something ugly is happening below. Repairing a compromised mast support is not a quick fix. Access is tight. Replacing or reinforcing the structure can run anywhere from $5,000 to $9,000 depending on how much of the deck and interior need to come out. If you are hunting for a Ballad, insist on a thorough inspection under the mast step. Look for evidence of water intrusion, probe for soft spots, and ask if the support has ever been replaced. A fast, affordable Bluewater boat is only a deal if the rig stays upright. With the Ballad, speed can save you, but hidden steel can sink your budget if you are not vigilant. Rawson 30s were born out of Alaska's working harbors, designed by Rawson to withstand the kind of punishment that would send most boats limping home. These are not showpieces, they are built for survival. The hull is thick fiberglass, the freeboard high, and the keel molded as part of the body, not bolted on as an afterthought. Inside, the pilot house windows wrap around the saloon, letting you watch the horizon from a warm seat, shielded from spray and wind. For solo sailors, that visibility is a quiet luxury. The cockpit sits deep, with coamings that keep you secure in heavy weather, and the companionway is a gentle descent, not a scramble. On the used market, Rawson 30s can be found for $15,000 to $25,000. For that price, you get a hull that shrugs off groundings and log strikes. Deck hardware is oversized, the rig is simple, and systems are accessible. The ride is slow but steady, with a motion that lets you sleep at sea or cook underway. If the goal is to cross oceans without drama, or to anchor out for months on a budget, this is the boat that makes it possible. But every bargain hides a catch. Rawson filled the keel cavity with concrete and scrap iron, then sealed it. If water finds its way in through a crack, a seam, or a hard grounding, it meets the iron. Rust forms, expands, and begins to push outward. Over time, this pressure can split the fiberglass at the keel root or along the sides. Surveyors look for diagonal cracks and weeping rust stains. Sounding with a hammer or using ultrasound can reveal voids or delamination. Brown streaks or a jumpy meter mean trouble. Repairing a compromised keel is a major job. You must haul out, grind open, remove the old ballast, dry the cavity, re-pour, and glass it shut. Yards quote $12,000 to $18,000 for the full job, but once done, the keel is often stronger than new. A dry, sound Rawson 30 keel is nearly indestructible. A wet, rusty one is a slow disaster. Demand recent survey data, ultrasound or sounding results, and proof the keel is dry. For those who pass this test, the Rawson 30 stands as the ultimate old man's tank, slow, steady, and built to come home. Across all 10 of these so-called forgotten tanks, one truth stands out. True seaworthiness outlasts fashion. These boats endure not because they are flawless, but because their bones are honest and their flaws are knowable. In a world obsessed with the new, reliability hides in plain sight, waiting for those who prize substance over shine. The ocean still respects old strength. Share your own battle-tested favorites in the comments below, and